So in this video, I'm looking at friends. Why is it so difficult to make them? Too many tribes, too many bad leaders that require the worship of ego and alpha men. There is no alpha men. All men are liars. The only one that's the alpha and the omega is God and Christ. The only one that is the rock and the savior is God and Christ. So I'm going to publicize this video to make it absolutely clear. Disabled people are not retards. The real retards of society are businessmen who liquidize other companies unfairly and are bad men who are calling themselves father figures and bad men who are calling themselves family men when in fact they destroy other people's lives without any good cause. So they're bad lions and lionesses who are calling themselves that. So who are the real retards of society? Perverts and obscurants of justice. Horrid men who are rich and powerful that abuse position of powers, uniform and professionalism in the disguise of expertise. These are the real retards, the couples who are boasting in their families and at the same time they target single women and separate children from single women and widows and outcasts. So they're very bad couples out there. And these are the real retards, the adulteresses, the murderesses, that Christ has died. Christ has died to make sure that the murderer is not set free. In the good old religion 2,000 years ago, Joshua had destroyed the cities of Satan. Joshua has spared one adulterer because that one adulterer was humbled and stopped in her tracks. Was it Rahab? For being a type of cheap, oldest job in the world of prostitution. She was stopped in her tracks and stopped doing that job. The same as Jesus's most loved disciples and followers, who among them was a prostitute. She stopped sinning. She admired and adored God and God's people so much, she was stopped in her track. That's the definition of the one in a million, the odd one out, the special, the true humble. Sinners who stop doing evil, not because they have to, because they want to. So there are very few of those about, and because they fear God and because they don't want their families destroyed. This is the true definition of holy people. So I'm relaxing here, trying to relieve the pain. It starts off with a dull ache, and then as soon as I move, it's a sharp ache in my spine. I have had a saddle loss of that numbness, loss of saddle sensation, and also have many medical problems because the treatments were not available and the support was not available in the battle. So I'm like a soldier for God in a battle, and no one supported me in battle. Even those who said that they was going to, they never did. I'm also taking these orange sachets to help me in the problem that they made me suffer. So many medical professionals are not what they say they are. They're not there to save lives. They're there to destroy lives. As soon as they find out that the government doesn't like me and the authorities don't like me, then in that case, the actual medical staff are prohibited from helping me, or they help to harm. So this is the house of David. This is the heart of David. This is the heart of true religion that doesn't mess about. We provide these services to Christians, first of all, our own circle, before we provide it to the secular world, in every professional scope. However, what's not fair about that is that it's based on money. It's not voluntary services for professional Christians. It's all been privatized, and that's why it has become a fraud Christian. It's supposed to be voluntary, and the money that we do have, it's supposed to be shared in society publicly, and it isn't. So therefore it becomes a fraud Christian. And so this is why their lives are cut short and why they have premature aging and premature death, because they don't take up the cause. They don't share that cause of supporting Christians in poverty, Christians who are disabled, fragile or frail, elderly or young. And so they also focus in this country for the elderly more than the young, for you to receive the services. So I am going to highlight in this video who I am not friends with. So I have stood up for the elders, but the elders have not stood up for me. So I'm not friends with the elders. I am not friends with the young because they're too rebellious, they're too boastful and too arrogant. They're too much of a lion and lioness. They roar too loud. So everybody who is not, apart from the very few that God has used in God's vengeance in the devil's camp, in the enemy's camp, to compliment me. That was God's vengeance. And now they want to retaliate and get back at me because God used somebody in the devil's camp, lol, to compliment me. How did that happen? So God is just so amazing for doing that. The point is, who are not my friends? Nations. I'm going to mention nations because God has given back to me what the enemy, the devil, the roaring lion who roars too loudly, it goes about to kill, steal, and destroy God's people and persecute Christians. God gave me back what the enemy has stolen, my youth for premature aging and premature death, threats, not because I was a fake fraud Christian, but rather because I was actually doing God's will and I was doing God's service. And so it destroyed everything I was building because it did not want me to do God's will as a single mom. And it kept shaming me. So God says, I will not allow the enemy to mock and insult you and shame you anymore. God is mighty. God is great. God is to be magnified on my channel. I am here to worship God in spirit and in truth in my channel. And I'm here to look for friends. Now, the enemy has come and stolen my channel using an old mobile from the Nazi system in Tesco Mobile. It keeps a record of all the old mobiles, old numbers that are no longer used. They can activate a dead SIM or a dead phone number, a dead line. They can activate it and use it as a hacker, and that's what they've done. And so this is how they've stolen all my channels, through an old number, and I find it extremely difficult to reclaim these channels. So all my hard work is wasted and rubbished and ruined because of Google and Tesco Mobile that has enabled this. It's a tyrant. It's worse than a Nazi. It targets the poor, the sick, the lonesome. I like being lonesome, but I'm not going to be lonesome for too long. I like being what's the word? I like being independent. I like to wait, but not wait for too long. That's the same principle for me as a disabled, or if I am fully recovered. I didn't think I could walk again. I didn't think I'd stand up again, and I am literally within the 2 years, I couldn't do that. So, in closing this video, looking at nations, so I have said no to India, yes to Pakistan and Bangladesh, no to all Asian countries, no to all African countries, because I remember them, but they never remember me. They've abandoned and neglected me. I remember it as my ex. So Miriam was struck down by God for being racist that Moses married someone who was probably African or Nigerian descent or something like that. I'm not racist. I'm just saying no to repeating the history of them not being my friend. So who are not my friends? So they rejected me first. They started it. They finished it. So that's why I'm saying no to them. So these are not my friends. Not being racist. I'm just saying that this is the case, and this is the case forever. It's part of their DNA. It's part of their mindset. It's part of their ego and their pride. It's part of them saying that they're more important than me as a woman, boy or girl, or even as a man who says he's the Alpha and the Omega. Nonsense. There is no man, again repeat, that is the Alpha and the Omega. There is no animal that is an Alpha and the Omega. Even if it is the most dominant one in the tribe, because they all tell lies, they deceive. Privately, I do not have lies at all. Never. But publicly, I am able to manipulate and to mask, which is similar to a lie, but it isn't a lie. So here, truthfully, I am now going in closing, mentioning all the nations that I have said no to. No, no, no. I'm not going to allow bad history to repeat itself. I'm not going to give you another second chance. If you want to be friends, it's up to you to be desperate enough to God to give you a second chance. But I am not a God. I'm God's friend. And God is merciful. God is compassionate and gives people second chances. But that is those people who go to God first before they come to me, which is very rare. So I have said no to all the Muslims because they spit at Christians. No to all the Jews because they're Christ killers. No, because I also had a solicitor and lawyer who was a Jew, but we lost the case because she was too professional and not personal enough. And also she'd broken the golden rule, treat others as you'd like to be treated. She was more important because of the money. So she was as a gangster solicitor. So no to all the Arabs in the world. No to all Africans. No to all Asians. No to all Indians. Yep, even the Red Indians. If you're called an Indian, you're a no-no. Apart from the Eskimos, they're not really Indians, but they're very similar too. No to all the Americans. No to all the Scottish. No to all the Irish. And no to all the Welsh. No to all the English. No to all the Russians. Probably no to all the Europeans. Because they had an opportunity to be my friend, but they wanted me to chase them. So they were disrespectful. They were saying that they show concern and care. They were saying that they care, but they refuse to communicate, which was weird. So those that are dumb, mute, and unless you have that disability since you were born, then that I can tolerate, that you cannot speak. But you can speak, but those who can speak, however, and choose not to speak, are not friends. They're mute. Silence. In most cases, silence is betrayal. All of those who love cats more than dogs are enemies. No to all the East Londoners. Probably no to all the South, definitely all to South Londoners. Yes to the West Londoners and yes to the South Londoners. Yes to the South and yes to the North Londoners, but no to the East and no to the West Londoners. What else? So there's many. I think I've mentioned the whole world here. Definitely no to Spaniards, Mexican, Portuguese. Many Brazilians. Possibly Venezuela, yes. Maybe. No to all the blondes. No to all the gingers. It's part of their DNA. They think differently. They prioritize differently. And they're too arrogant. And they love groupthink. So before I enter any groupthink, I need proof that the person is an individual, proof that the person is able to think for themselves, to problem solve for themselves. Otherwise, they're not adults. They're children in overgrown adult bodies because they're constantly going for groupthink. They're constantly going to the government or to any other agency to protect them other than God. So God said to me, do not go to these social media networks to look for friends. So no to all social media. The reason why I'm putting out this video is to say that my channels are stolen. I cannot reclaim them. They have been a death threat, and they are in somebody else's control. They've even said I was dancing naked, which is a total lie, to shut down my channel and censor me. So that's why, and how I'm destroying my enemies, to say no. If I found you on any of these social media, you're no friend of mine. You didn't catch a rabbit, as Elvis Presley sings, and you are no friend of mine. No.